For this part 2 of completing the square, I'm going to do at least 2 examples. One of them will be medium, the other one will have one extra step. So for completing the square, that means we have x minus, well, we have some squared term, minus or plus another one. We're going to have minus 4x. And for this example, I'll have the constant on the other side. Before we can complete the square, we need all of the terms to be on the same side. Well, we don't really, but I'll show you how to do it like that anyway. So if we're going to move everything on the same side, we'll have x squared minus 4x minus 11 equals 0. We're going to put a parentheses around the two parts that have an x. So the x squared and the minus 4x, we're going to leave a blank space inside the parentheses and one outside the parentheses. We're going to copy that minus 11 and we're equal to 0. Inside of that blank space is going to be, what's going to go here is b divided by 2 squared, which means you're going to take the number that's in front of the x, which is negative 4 divided by 2 squared. So that's negative 2 squared. Okay, it looks like the last one, the same number as the last video. So we're going to have another plus 4. That's a coincidence. So if I have a plus 4 inside the parentheses, I'm going to put a plus 4 outside the parentheses. Just kidding. If I put a plus 4 inside the parentheses, I need to put a number that would cancel it out, that would balance it out to 0 outside the parentheses, which is a minus 4. Since I already factored this last time, it's x minus 2 times x minus 2. And then I have a minus 4 and a minus 11. A minus 4 and a minus 11 make a minus 15 equals to 0. So that's x minus 2. That happened twice and it's multiplying. So x minus 2 squared equals 15. We're going to square root x minus 2 equals square root 15. Square root 15 can't be brought any lower. The factors are a 3 and a 5, which are both prime. So that's just going to be a plus or minus square root 15. So then our two options to get this answer are x minus 2 equals square root 15, or x minus 2 equals negative square root of 15. And if we solve this, x equals negative square root 15 plus 2. X equals square root 15 plus 2. Those are the two solutions. So that was just how you would solve it if this number is on the other side of the equal sign. Now, there's another special case, which would be if a is not 0. Sorry, not 0. If a is not 1. We have the number 1 here. Because there was nothing in front, that means that there's the invisible number 1. Well, what about if we have like a 3 in front? 3x squared minus 9x minus 84 equals 0. So we have 3x squared minus 9x minus 84. Well, I picked this problem purposefully. 3 is the greatest common factor between these numbers. Or at least it's very obvious that 3 is in common between these two numbers. So since there's a 3 in common to 3 and 9, we're going to factor that out. 3x squared minus 3x, leave a blank, close the parentheses, leave a blank, minus 84 equals 0. So what goes in that blank is b over 2 squared. B is that middle number. So that middle number right here, this is a 3. So 3 over 2, negative 3 over 2 squared is going to go in that blank. Now you may think this is ugly, but it's not. Negative 3 squared is a 9, and 2 squared is a 4. So in this blank is going to be plus 9 over 4. And then in the last example, since there was the number 1 right there, we could copy the same exact number here. Whatever was inside, we could copy that outside. Since now we have a 3 in front of this parentheses, I'm not only adding 9/4, but now I'm going to have to subtract. To balance out 9/4, I'm going to have to subtract 3 on the outside times 9/4. So 3 times 9 over 4. And since it was positive on the inside, it's going to be negative on the outside. So let's write that down. 3x squared minus 3x plus 9 over 4, close parentheses, minus 3 times 9 divided by 4 minus 84 equals 0. We're going to factor what's in the parentheses. 9 over 4, 3, negative 3. And those factors are going to be, they are always going to be that. Whatever b over 2 was, that's going to be our factors. So b over 2 is negative 3 over 2. And since that this top term is positive, it's going to be negative 3 over 2 and negative 3 over 2. So we have 3 parentheses, x minus 3 over 2, close parentheses, squared, minus, I'm going to multiply that 3 times 9, 27 over 4, minus 84 equals 0. That's no big deal. You could use a calculator close to now, but 27 over 4. 24 over 4 is 6. So this is going to be minus 6. And then that would leave you with 3/4 left over. So that's minus 6.75 minus 84 equals 0. We're going to copy 3x minus 3 over 2 squared minus 90.75 equals 0. We're going to move that constant to the other side. 3x minus 3 over 2 squared equals 90.75. We'll divide by 3. $30.25. We'll square root. X minus 3 over 2 equals plus or minus 30.25. Sorry, square root of that. You could use the calculator to approximate what this number is going to be, but I think it's just fine to write square root 30.25 without rounding anything. And then we have two answers. One answers the positive version, one answers the negative version. So x minus 3 over 2 equals the positive square root 30.25. And then we would answer this by adding the 3/2 to the other side. Square root 30.25 plus 3 over 2. And the other option is the negative version, So x minus 3 over 2 equals negative square root 30.25, which means that x is equal to, I'll put the 3 halves first because that's the positive one, 3 over 2 minus square root 30.25. You won't get a question this long, this complicated. It wasn't really complicated, but it just took some steps. You won't get a question this difficult for a while, probably until like Algebra 2. You will relearn this in Algebra 2. I remember I taught it a few years back. So you'll learn it again, and you'll have it in college.